We're training to ride 100 miles, a century ride. This is the second of 4 videos in which, week by week, we'll take you through from how to ride 50 miles to riding a century.
If you're following along from our first video, then you should be tackling about 55 miles for your long ride and doing 2 other rides each week. Trying not to get run over by hard-road trucks. Now, if you're watching close to the release date, then we're aiming to ride our century on the last weekend in May, which is a UK holiday. But even if you're watching it some other time, it doesn't really matter, the principles still apply. In this, the second phase, weeks 3 to 6, we're going to increase the mileage of our long ride from 55 miles to 70 miles.
On and off-road adventure cycling is at the heart of this channel. We offer tips and reviews, always honest and clear. We've a popular series for beginners called Stuff Cyclists Don't Tell You, and specialist expertise, as you'll see, from leading triathlete Sean McFarlane. You can find out more at our website. Please subscribe.
The key thing to do here is to break your routine. Our bodies love routine. Most of us cycle 50 miles or so, often at weekends, and are now trying to bike 100. A 50-mile ride is still a long ride. For most of us, it takes over 3 hours, so it is getting into endurance cycling, and there is no reason at all why you can't cycle 100 miles if you can cycle 50 miles now, but you need to break the routine. When we get to 65, 70 miles, we experience some discomfort, and that's just our bodies being uncomfortable with that initial change in routine.
This video for weeks 3 to 6 is about getting comfortable, partly with your bike fit, but mainly with your food, because by the end of this session, we are going to be riding a metric century. No, not 100 miles, 100 kilometers. That's about 62 miles. First, bike fit, and there is no magic simple solution. If you want to check the basics, then we have a video in the Stuff Cyclists Don't Tell You playlist here that will help get your saddle height and position close to being ideal. However, bike fitting technology is now excellent. There are motion capture systems like Retool that Liz and I have both used. There are also physiotherapists who specialize in bike fit and put perhaps more emphasis on your biomechanics. Now is the time to seek out a good bike fitter and try to get a booking for when COVID restrictions allow.
Next to nutrition. Now, we looked a lot at this in the Rafa Festive 500.
When I go cycling, I always have for breakfast porridge. If I have anything else, I get hungry certainly within an hour, and that just doesn't work. Usually with semi-skimmed milk, raisins and honey, and I also have some coffee, just to get my system started in the morning.
Sean plans his longer rides around stops where he can buy food and water.
Stops are important for 3 main reasons. It simply means you have to carry a lot less nutrition, and that's a big weight saving, especially on longer rides. Mentally, they're very valuable because they allow you to split your bigger rides up into manageable chunks. You can target segments in between stops. And lastly, they're just good fun.
That means Sean can usually ride with just 1 bottle.
Whether I'm cycling 50 miles or 100 miles or any riding training, I tend to have the same system on my bike for taking on board liquid. And that is, I take 1 bottle, usually a 750 milliliter bottle, and in the bottle I normally have water with a high 50 tablet, which has no energy or calories, but it has electrolytes and it tastes nice as well. One thing that always surprises me with riders is they fail to properly hydrate before and after they ride. If you do that, then you don't need to take as much liquid on board when you're riding. I don't tend to drink anything on the bike in the first 20-25 minutes or so, and that's because before I leave the house, I've had a lot of water. Similarly, when I come back, the first thing I do is try and have some water. I'm coming back to the car and make sure I've got water in the vehicle. If there's nowhere to top up, you need to take more. But if you can get refills, then don't take any more water with you. than what you need. 2 750ml bottles of water is a combined weight of 1.5 kilograms, and you don't need extra weight when you're cycling. Many of my cycling friends take 2 bottles with them, but frankly they never get close to ever running them both down. That's just extra weight that you don't need. It's pretty obvious that the longer your rides are, the more nutrition you need. Remember, we are stopping on these rides, so you don't have to take all that nutrition on board either your bike jersey or your bike itself, but take enough on your bike jersey and your bike to allow you to steadily graze in between those stops. Don't do what I do far too often, which is to bike for 2.5, 3 hours and then stop. You're hungry, and in that stop you take on board a lot of nutrition in quite a short period of time. Your body does not cope well with that. The stuff I take on my bike jersey tends to be a porridge bar, a muesli bar, a banana. I also have real food like a roll with cheese and tomato and mayonnaise, as I did in the Rapha Festive 500. They taste great. And don't forget about the importance of taste, especially as your rides become longer. If something doesn't taste good, there's less chance that you'll take it. Many of you will use specific sports nutrition, so products that have been manufactured for this type of activity. I race with that stuff a lot. I find it works very well. But in training, for me at least, I don't use much in any of it really. Firstly, it's been heavily manufactured, and those amount of chemicals and artificial things, I'm just not too keen on too many of them if I can possibly avoid it. Secondly, it's not cheap. You get a porridge bar from Aldi or Lidl for not a lot, and certainly a lot less than these brands. I do, however, especially on longer rides, quite often take a gel or 2 with me just in case I need it. And also the powder drink that I use, which is from a brand called Morton, which is quite well known now, is full of energy. So if I get in a situation which requires that, I tend to like to take that just in case.
Of course, where you live, you might be unable to buy food and get water refills along the way, so you'll need to carry more with you, perhaps in a larger saddlebag as I did for the Festive 500. You might have to be inventive where you stop for water refills. I found churches often have outside standpipes where I can top up. Or do loops, perhaps returning home or to a centrally placed vehicle where you can stash food and drink.
So we are going to make a lot of progress in these coming 4 weeks, and by the end of it we'll have ridden that metric century and be well on our way to 100 miles. The next video will be in 4 weeks' time, so please subscribe and you won't miss that. Let us know how you're getting on in the comments, and a thumbs up would be hugely appreciated. And we'll see you next time.